This is perfect as multiple insiders drop a bombshell of a Canucks report regarding an unsung hero of last season who's due for a big payday. And Evander Kane addresses the media and has some Canucks fans backtracking their words. We're going to break it down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest. But first, if you're enjoying this Canucks content, you want to help us reach our goal of 7,600 subscribers before the start of the NHL draft tomorrow night, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode when they drop. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is insiders drop bombshell. So earlier tonight, Frank Saravelli was reporting that it sounds like the Canucks have made significant progress in extension talks with winger Conor Garland. He's not eligible to re-sign until July 1st, but wouldn't be surprised to see it get over the finish line relatively shortly thereafter. And then not too long after, just minutes ago, Rick Dhaliwal tweets out that sounds like the Conor Garland extension in Vancouver could be 6 years and $36 million. So this is going to be a nice little payday for Conor Garland, as well as a pay increase from the $5 million annually that he was currently getting. And now he is in line for a huge payday. And this is coming one day after TSN's Darren Dreger reported that the team was making progress on extension with goaltender Thatcher Demko, who is also available to be extended on July 1st. Kiefer Sherwood is also extension eligible on Canada Day. Now, this is something that we're going to be looking at over the next couple of days, of course, because there is so much coming up as far as Canucks free agents and just ones that would have been upcoming at the end of next year. And the Canucks want to just get ahead of the curve and just sign them earlier rather than later and be able to potentially move them for trade pieces. Now, within this, those guys are priorities. I know that Pius Suter is a big one that we're probably prepping to leave. And unfortunately, Brock Boeser, which you guys know if you guys have been watching the channel long enough, that's my favorite Vancouver Canuck, and it is going to pain me to see him go on July 1st and likely testing the market. If he comes back, I will be so happy, but it's likely not going to be happening. So within that, with the guys that are currently going to be UFAs and just open to the market, now we have three guys that are going to be upcoming free agents next season. So lock them down early, especially these three. Conor Garland had a huge season last season, continuing to build on a career years that he had with Vancouver, coming from Arizona where Rick Tocchet was and coming over to Vancouver. You see there where the production has just consistently gone up. Yes, his first year in Vancouver was still his best, but since then as well, 2022 all the way to 2025, he has gotten better and better each year. Obviously, Rick Tocchet was a huge part of that. However, Conor Garland still was an absolute machine last season, playing in 81 games, 19 goals, 31 assists, and his ice time definitely went up dramatically with the highest ice time of his career on average. So this is a big one for Conor Garland where he is in line for a big extension, and this ensures that Vancouver doesn't lose him to Philadelphia. When Rick Tocchet went to Philadelphia, that was the very first thing that came across my mind was not only is Quinn Hughes going to be gone in 2 years, but also Conor Garland, he'll be gone at the end of next year because he's going to want to go where Rick Tocchet goes. If Vancouver does this, you ensure that doesn't happen. And then, of course, Kiefer Sherwood, massive priority to re-sign him. I was saying all season last year, Kiefer Sherwood was the greatest signing last offseason for the entire NHL because they got him at $1.5 million on a 2-year deal, 1.5 year on a 2-year deal, and he broke the single season hits record and was a top 5 scorer on this Vancouver Canucks team and is an absolute wrecking ball and a bull on the ice. So now you gave him a buddy in Evander Kane. We'll talk about him in a second, but Kiefer Sherwood, you lock him down so that he doesn't have to have an even better year next year and demand even more money. You lock him down before he gets too expensive. Same thing goes for Thatcher Demko. If he somehow battles his health struggles and he has an amazing year where he's back to a Vezina caliber goalie, that's a hairy situation where he's going to be demanding a lot of money, potentially to be the highest paid goalie in the NHL. Right now, you can kind of get him at a bit of a cheaper price. And not saying this is what's going to happen, but if the Canucks are looking to move one goalie, at least they aren't moving Thatcher Demko on a contract year where a team won't want to take that on because he won't have term, kind of like what with Evander Kane right now, where they're going to take on a guy in the last year of his contract and have to give him a big extension. He's going to have to play his ass off to earn that highest goalie pay, and a lot of teams might not be willing to do that. If Vancouver locks Demko down now before he demands a higher pay if he has a fantastic season next year, then that gives Vancouver the opportunity to either trade him if his health continues to stay a concern, which could be more likely than the other. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that that is going to be the case, but just with precedent, hopefully I am wrong on that and he has a fantastic year. And the Canucks were able to get him for a very good deal before he got too expensive. But if the opposite is true, Vancouver's in a situation now where they have him extended. They can give him to another team where they don't have to worry about overpaying for a guy who's always hurt and is going to be a highest paid goaltender. You would have him at a discounted price and then be able to kind of work with him and see where he's at in those years if they take him on with that contract. But overall, I think Conor Garland being in line for an extension is massive because he's entering the final year of his contract, where he came over from the Arizona Coyotes as a former 5th-round pick in the 2015 draft. Wouldn't make his NHL debut until 2018-2019. He struggled a bit, but he made his early debut in early December against San Jose Sharks, and he would finally find the back of the net in his 8th game against Colorado Avalanche, and it's been pretty awesome to watch since then, especially since he came over to Vancouver. But what are your guys' thoughts on all this? Are you guys excited to see that Conor Garland will probably get extended? I know I'm very excited to see that. And what do you guys think about the priorities of extending Thatcher Demko and Kiefer Sherwood before the final year of their contract? Do you think it's wise to use that as a potential trade piece, or to lock them down before they get even more expensive because of the capabilities that they have? With Kiefer Sherwood, if he can get better from last year, that's going to bring a bigger price tag than what it would bring this year. If Thatcher Demko has a Vezina caliber season, obviously it's going to bring a bigger price tag than what it would have been after last year. So those are things to look out for, and I do like the idea of the Canucks prioritizing that over, as much as it pains me to say it, Brock Boeser and Pius Suter. But let us know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is Evander Kane speaks. So Evander Kane had his much anticipated very first press conference as a Vancouver Canuck, and there were 4 topics that I really want to touch on here, because I think this was a really great press conference. It really kind of shows why a lot of people do like Evander Kane, and that is one of the things that I was watching the interview going, yeah, as much as I don't entirely love the deal, yes, yesterday, I will admit, I was a little cranky because I was hopping on doing a video right after I had woken up. Literally, the news that Evander Kane was traded was my alarm clock. The notification woke me up, and I saw that. I was like, all right, time to hop on a video about it. So I was a little cranky. I didn't have my coffee yet, so I was a little bit emotional. After having the day to think about it, as much as I don't like the financial implications of the deal, I do think that this is a guy that he's likable. He is a very likable guy off the ice. He's very charming with the reporters, wearing that suit that he had on with the Canucks colors on that he already had in his dresser that he was bringing in, or his closet that he did bring over to Vancouver. It was pretty funny to see. He was making very good small talk with those reporters, very likable, very personable. But some of the things he kind of dived into was one of the things being his playing style. He said, yeah, I've played that style since I was 8 years old here in Vancouver. When he was asked if anything is going to change, nothing is going to change. Nothing is really changing in how I play or what I bring on the ice. I'm very confident in what I can do, and Vancouver is going to provide me a really good opportunity to do that. Now, with this said, Evander Kane, his playing style is an acquired taste. You either love it or you hate it. And if you hate it, he's likely on the team that isn't yours that makes you hate it. But if he's on your team, you love the way he plays. It's almost like Brad Marchand. Is Brad Marchand more talented? Probably. However, Evander Kane is going into his 17th year. He is a longtime veteran. And yes, I was saying a lot of stuff yesterday about it, but overthinking about it, I think that as a character for this locker room, as much as there is toxicity, which we're going to talk about in a second as far as his character, I think that bringing a physical guy on like this, if he can play on a line with Elias Pettersson, bring some physicality there, or on a line with Hedl and have some speed to go with that physicality, I think that'll bode very well. And I am very curious to see how this playing style of a guy like this, especially with Kiefer Sherwood on that team as well, and a guy like Dakota Joshua, where this forward group now has 3 guys that can ruffle some feathers in between the lines and in between whistles and kind of get some sparks going and get some tone setters in there early on in the game. But it didn't stop there, as he talked about what it means going into a contract year as well. Kind of joking around saying I've never heard so many people talk about a contract year when it comes to me, and there's so many other guys in contract years. It's just incredible. I know I bring a lot of attention to a room and to a press conference, especially in a Canadian market, which he wasn't saying it boastingly. He was saying it very humbly, which isn't wrong. But I think every year I've played in the National Hockey League, I've always wanted to put my best foot forward and work as hard as I possibly could. And I don't think that anyone can question that. And this year is going to be no different, especially going into a year where he is coming off of missing an entire regular season and only playing in the playoffs. But he was saying that being able to get my body right and getting back into 100% was a nice reset for me. And for me, the time off, getting healthy, and has kind of allowed allowed me to roll the clock back a little bit, in my opinion, and hopefully that can translate onto the ice. And that is going to be a big thing because he's going to be 34 years old by the start of next season. So that's going to be something where his age is going to play a factor, and he's going to be coming up on an expiring contract at 34 years old. Obviously, he's going to want his next contract to be his last. Now it's a matter of, will he be in the same spot that Brock Boeser is in right now, where he thinks that he has more years in him than the Canucks think he does? Because Brock Boeser, I guarantee you, that's going to be the last contract he signs wherever he goes, whether it's Boston, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's St. Louis, whether it's Vancouver. It'll be the last contract of his career that he signs, because no one's going to want to really take a massive chance at paying an $8 million guy when he's at his age 38 year. It's just not going to happen. So that's going to be the same thing for Evander Kane. So within that, if Vancouver signs him to a 3-year deal to close out his career in Vancouver, cool. Send him off at the age of 37, 38. And then that's cool. But if he's going to be wanting more than that, that's going to be something to look out for. No matter how much he thinks he rolls the clock back, whether he thinks he rolled the clock back to 33, 32, or 30, it is something still to be wary of because of the injury that he's coming off of. So within that, that is something to look out for. But the big thing that I want to touch on here, and this is where my opinion was a little bit swayed, where he was talking about his character. He says character is a word that often gets tossed out casually, and it can often be used as a weapon when describing somebody. I think that what real character is somebody who shows you who they are when they are scrutiny and adversity and how they handle that. Obviously, there have been some difficult times for myself, but I think I've come out of it better off and better for it. You learn and you grow from every year, and for me, that's no different. And I really like this response from him in talking about some of the narratives or some of the things that have been said about him over the years, kind of saying that certain things aren't entirely accurate. But overall, I do really like him taking the high road here. I think that over the past few years, as much as I said that he was a cancer to a locker room and toxic to other teams in the past, since he was in Edmonton, I can admit that he has shown a lot of growth, shown a lot of maturity. Even if he's taken stupid penalties, as far as off the ice and locker room, doesn't sound like there was any issues in Edmonton as far as that goes. So I do really like the growth there, and hopefully that just shows that in the late stage of his career, he's just in this certain maturity where he is just going to bring that just certain energy to a team where it's going to be veteran, it's going to be an antagonizing guy, but he's not going to be stupid. And that is the big thing for Vancouver here. But what did you guys think about this press conference? Did it change your mind on the Evander Kane trade, or did it just reinforce some of the things you already thought before, whether it's good or bad? Let us know down in the comments below, as well as the Conor Garland situation. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. Stay tuned for our draft videos coming up. The draft gets going tomorrow night, and the Vancouver Canucks draft at number 15 overall. Who are they going to take? Will it be Braden Coots? Will it be Carter Bear? Who knows? Let's see what happens tomorrow night. But stay tuned to Canucks Digest for all of that. But with that, I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.